Hey everyone, welcome to the Daily Message. Are you willing to buck Bales? I had lunch today with one of our agents and also a dear friend of mine who I've known for years prior to coming to Windermere. And we went out to lunch and we ran into a client that he is working with. And this individual had a friend with him. And so I struck up a conversation with the friend and come to find out that this lady and her husband had been farming for 4 decades out in the Reardon, Washington area, and primarily wheat and hay. And we got to talking about how life has changed since COVID and how just the industry, their own industry, has changed, the farming industry. And she made a very interesting comment when we got to talking about hard work. And she said, the challenge with farming today is nobody's willing to buck bales anymore. I'm like, well, tell me more about that. And she said, well, back in the day, herself, her daughters, she has 3 daughters, all of which are now in their 30s, grew up on the farm literally bucking bales. And come to find out, according to her, a bale is 67 pounds, 68 pounds, something like that. And they grew up with that. And they came back last summer and were helping out on the farm. And they were all again in their 30s and were bucking bales and doing it better than the young 18 and 19-year-old kids that they had working for them. And she said, the problem is it's not a strength condition. The bales have always been the same. The problem is it's a head condition, and that they don't think that they should either be working that hard or have to work that hard. And so I coined the phrase. I said, well, people just don't seem to be willing to buck bales anymore. And she said, that's exactly right, which is why, interesting enough, on a side note, one of the reasons in farming that you see the big curls or the big, huge pinwheels of hay is the fact that people are less and less willing to buck bales. Now, technology has been a part of that, but the real metaphor or analogy here, if you will, is are you willing to buck bales? We all know you have to start out in the basement, you have to start out at the bottom, and you have to be willing to work hard. I talk about grinding every day. But that was another example I thought that would be a great to relay to you folks, is to ask yourself in your walk of life, not just in work, but also in your personal relationships, are you willing to buck bales? Because not everyone is. And I think that you'll find that if you are willing to buck bales, you're going to see that life is just better for you. You're going to be more successful in both your business career and in your relationships, you name it. So just be sure to ask yourself, am I willing to buck bales? And hopefully the answer is yes. All right, gang, that's it for the day. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care.